I'd just like to single out the member for Wentworth. I too am a new member, and often people will stop us and say, well, why do you fight all the time? Why do you disagree? Why do you just yell at each other? And you say, well, whether it's in a committee or in motions like this, there are opportunities for us to show otherwise. And this is an opportunity for the government to show otherwise. We hear often as a rhetorical device that we don't want the Americanisation of Australian politics, or people will say, well, that's a Trumpian tactic that you're taking, or use that as a pejorative. And we see it again and again, and more often directed at this side of politics. Well, if we're going to reflect on some of the things that are superior in our democracy compared to the United States democracy, one is avoiding lumping things in omnibus bills. For anyone who's a student of the US Congress, quite often they will have acts that will have had more time spent on studying and writing the headline than they will for the content, many of which will go to thousands of pages. I urge anyone to look at the Inflation Reduction Act. It's a great title. We all think inflation should be reduced. In fact, some think it should be reduced more urgently than others. But within that, there's an extraordinarily long list of other items that have nothing to do with the title. And that's what the government has done in here. They have lumped in some items that have broad support, that any reasonable presser would agree need to be done, and then built a legislative straw man. And we know that a straw man argument is a weak argument. It's an argument that seeks to misrepresent. It builds something up and says, well, here are the items, here are the things that reasonable people can agree on that are a part of this bill. And therefore you, by opposing this omnibus bill, will single out the reasonable parts. Well, I'm going to tear you down for that. I'm going to tear down the straw man argument. And straw man arguments, they're tricks. They're dishonest. They seek to misrepresent what the actual debate is about. And it's not just a debating tool, and I know the minister has a very distinguished record as a debater, and I admire his performances here, but when we come to this place and we seek to practice our democracy, straw man should have no place in this building, in this room, because we should be, as legislators, able to focus on the specifics of the problem that we're trying to solve and actually address those, agree where we can and disagree where we don't. Again, as well put by the member for Wentworth. And credit to the Senate. The Senate has sought to tear down your straw man. They've sought to pull it apart and say, well, here's the bits, here's the reasonable bits that we can agree on. You have said they are urgent, and the member for Casey quoted you, and again, with great rhetorical flourish, you came in here and pointed the finger at us about, well, are you really going to stand up and say that you disagree with these reasonable things? No, we're not. We agree with you. We agree with you on the 4 parts that have been pulled apart from the straw man. And the one that has come up first is the small business redundancy exemption. This is really important, and it clearly is a loophole that needs to be addressed. We agree with you. We agree with you. You said it was urgent. You said it needs to be brought on. So the question then gets put back on you. Will you vote against this reasonable proposal? Will you vote against the very thing you said that needs to be fixed and should be brought forward now? We shouldn't have straw man arguments brought before this House. It is a feature of United States democracy. I always think Australian democracy is far better than any on earth. So let's maintain the practice we have of actually having the description of a bill match the content of it and the problem that we're trying to solve. This is certainly one of those opportunities. Thank you, Speaker.